Hey everyone, this episode is brought to you by Decoy Stinky. You ever let off a real bad stinky? You don't want everyone else to know who dealt it. Well, make sure you drop a Decoy Stinky. How this works is inside one of our magic little Decoy Stinky balls. It sits against your knee. You hit it out of there and it drops down your pant leg and drops a fresh stinky in the room, masking your fart, your burp, your whatever you got going on, you know? In a job interview and you don't want them to smell your alcohol breath, drop a Decoy Stinky. And then you can bond with your interviewer over what that smell was.
Hey Scott, did you just fart?
Me? No, that doesn't smell like one of mine. Decoy Stinky. Hello and welcome to The Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and work our way to 100% fresh. I'm Scott.
And I'm Max, and today we are talking about The Butterfly Effect, rated 33% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, what a movie this one was.
I mean,
a lot of action to talk about. A lot of action.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. This was the best paced movie we've seen so far on this list, pacing-wise.
Pacing-wise, okay. I would say that I was more engaged in this movie than most of the other ones we've watched. Whether that's good or bad is a different thing, but...
Yeah. I mean, we were laughing the entire time, so there's that.
Yeah, which isn't a good thing for this movie.
It's good for us, but it's bad for this film. But no, it's we'll get into it, but the plot actually moves. The whole movie exists as a vehicle for the plot hooks, and everything else really doesn't matter, meaning the characters and the story. But yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah. And if I sound a little different, everyone, it's because I'm recording live from Studio C in sunny Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah, he's
in my childhood home.
It's a dark, grubby basement at the bottom of like a shack in the woods.
If you hear a dripping, that's normal.
Yeah. If you hear blades getting sharpened, that's just what they do.
Yeah, that's just what we do here. Max, what have you been watching?
I, like a lot of Netflix watchers, discovered the OA.
Yeah, it's kind of been their next hit.
Yeah. It's I would say it's not as a must-watch hit like Stranger Things was, where everyone was like, watch Stranger Things, you have to watch Stranger Things. But it definitely dips into the same audience, I would say. It's kind of a mystery with supernatural and science fiction elements to it, but it's also kind of like a look at psychological trauma recovery. So it's pretty interesting. It was created by Britt Marling and her partner, whose name I just forgot, her working partner.
She's done other things as well.
And most with this director that she works with a lot. She did Another Earth, a film called The East. And something else that I forgot. She does like kind of weird takes on science fiction, is what it seems like. She's an actress as well as a writer. But no, the OA, it's interesting. Your boy, is it Riz Ahmed? He's in it.
Oh yeah, I do like him.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. Everyone's pretty cool in it, like pretty good as far as performances and all that. Jason Isaacs is in it.
Oh yeah, I think you had mentioned that to me.
And then Phyllis from The Office is in it.
I know, I can't even remember the character now, but someone who played the old, like father figure in The Walking Dead is in it. I can't believe I'm blanking on the character, but he was also in Dredd, or Judge Dredd, excuse me.
Yeah. I know.
He played the cannibal daddy.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. I'm like 15 minutes into the first episode, and I didn't stop because I didn't like it. I stopped just because it was like 2 a.m, and I was like, I really can't get in there right now.
Yeah.
But it seems interesting. It's a really good hook right at the start.
It's a show you have to pay attention to too. So you can't just like, you will miss a lot of subtle little things here and there. Now that I'm done with it, I've finished watching it already. I'm thinking back on certain key moments that I want to go back and rewatch almost. You mentioned to me that you heard some people weren't happy with the ending.
Yeah, that's just what I read online.
And I can see that. There's elements of the end that I wasn't like 100% on board with. I would have liked it to be a little bit different, but we'll talk about that more once you see it. We can bring it back up on the show. So
Yeah, we definitely should. And I'm planning. I'm not really watching a show right now, so that's a good one for me to get into, I think. But I'm planning on watching it as we move forward here.
it's 8 episodes. I would say the first episode's probably the longest.
Yeah, it's like an hour and 15 minutes, I think.
Yeah, and then the 6th or 7th episode, for some reason, is just 30 minutes, which is totally random. But
I guess
Netflix,
it takes advantage of
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes advantage of Netflix as a medium.
Yeah. It was the story was just as concise as the rest of the stories. It wasn't like rushed or anything.
Yeah, but it was like a natural endpoint.
Yeah. So I wonder if they planned that or if it was just how it turned out. But
yeah,
no, definitely worth checking
you
out.
never really know, I guess. Yeah, no, I will. I'm planning on it.
What about you, Scott? What you been up to?
Well, I saw Oscar Best Picture frontrunner La La Land. It's been limited release and kind of scaling up like a lot of these ones have, just like Manchester of the Sea did. And I went and saw it this past week, and it was really darn good. I don't like musicals. I don't hate musicals, but I've never been super fond of them. But I really like Damien Chazelle, who did Whiplash, and he wrote 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was also very good. And he was phenomenal here too. It's funny to take a musical, but for the biggest takeaways to be the writing of the dialogue and the characters and the cinematography. Like the non-music was so solid in this, and the music's very good too. Like there's 2 or 3 songs that are just stuck in my head, and that's a good thing, but it's also annoying. No, I really enjoyed it. And it's funny because Gosling and Stone, who play Sebastian and Mia, the main characters, they were originally going to be played by Miles Teller and Emma Watson. And that would not work at all with this movie. Like, it's impossible to imagine almost any other actors playing these roles. And I love Miles Teller, but he could not have done this.
Well, Gosling, he's pretty hot right now. I mean, he's always a hot ticket, but he should have an interesting year with this, and then with Blade Runner coming up soon.
Yeah, and his past couple have been good too. He did The Nice Guys, and yeah, I guess these are I think he hadn't been in anything for like a year or something since The Place Beyond the Pines or something else he was working on. But yeah, him and Emma Stone have so much chemistry. It just makes the romance really good, and the story's really good. And I'm just kind of gushing about it, but it deserves to be an Oscar frontrunner. I think it'll win Best Picture because Hollywood loves movies about itself.
That's true.
So this one being about LA, very romanticizes Los Angeles and acting and like being a dreamer. So they're going to kind of glob onto those things, I think. But it'll be a deserved winner, in my opinion.
It'll be interesting with the whole climate of this past year, both in pop culture and politics and society, to see how the Oscars plays out. So
yeah, especially because one of the other frontrunners is Moonlight, which is about it's a coming of age story about African Americans and homosexuality, and it'll definitely be interesting. What stinks is I think Manchester by the Sea is just as good of a movie. I think it's just going to get edged out because those two have kind of more buzz around them.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, you can only have one every year, so
yeah, what
can you do?
And there's always different awards and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's nice that there's multiple movies that are real candidates, because I felt like last year it was kind of like Spotlight, not by default, but there wasn't a runaway, and none of the candidates really jumped out. Like it was Spotlight and The Big Short and The Revenant were the ones that were dueling, but none of them really felt like a Best Picture.
Yeah. I agree.
So it's nice that there's at least 3 here that I think really deserve it. And I haven't even seen stuff like Fences and A Monster Calls is coming out, and Martin Scorsese's movie Silence. That's going to be the wild card.
When does that one come out?
I think it comes out very, very, very limited on Christmas, like 2 theaters, and then it's going to scale up in like January. But it's getting in for that cutoff.
Yeah, I was going to say it's basically getting in for the cutoff.
Yeah, and so is Ben Affleck's new movie, Live by Night or Live by Night. I'm not sure how it's supposed to be pronounced, but that one's doing the same thing where it's just sneaking into a few theaters on Christmas and then expanding in January and February.
I saw Fences on Rotten Tomatoes today had a 95, I want to say.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's getting a lot of buzz.
Yeah.
And it's a very popular play that it's based off of, and it's directed by Denzel Washington. So that's kind of got its own storyline there.
That's a W boy right there.
A W boy. But No, so La La Land's very good. Even if you're on the fence, I know you had said the trailer kind of puts you to sleep every time you watch it. Not in a bad way, but just it's sleepy.
Yeah, it's a sleepy trailer, man. It has that
Yeah,
soothing music,
it is.
pretty colors, beautiful people.
Yeah,
It's just all
it's
the
the stuff you want to dream
need.
to.
Yeah, it's dreamy, exactly.
Yeah.
But no.
If you're on the fence, go see it.
Well, when I saw the trailer for it in front of Manchester, I thought it was I could actually get through it and pay attention to it. When I'm forced to pay attention, I could pay attention. But no, look, it has things there that looks interesting, so I might check it out.
Yeah, City of Stars is like the big song, and it's stuck in my head, the melody. And then like some of the melodies from the other songs are so addictive and catchy that it's really good.
I heard the musical number in Blade Runner 2049 is going to be really good.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because you get Harrison Ford's gravelly voice in there,
A duet for the ages.
Yeah. He's got real good shaky hands now, which is going to really elevate his older characters, in my opinion.
Yeah, shaky hands, kind of like a broken-looking face in a good way.
Yeah, and a bit of a hunch coming in.
Yeah.
Like where his shoulders are a little more lower set.
Like two different shape eyes.
All the things you need for a good grumpy character. This is a Ford renaissance.
To be fair, Harrison Ford has been playing a grumpy character since forever. Now he just like
to get ready for this.
It reflects the outside reflects the inside. So
yeah, which is good. Yeah. What did you think of that trailer? We're talking Blade Runner 2049 for everyone who didn't catch that.
I mean, it was cool. It had the look, but it's like most early teaser trailers where it's just to tell you, hey, this is coming out. Keep an eye out for it, and like that's it. But
yeah, we got a date. October 7th.
My question is, my takeaway from Blade Runner always was the director's cut at least hinted that Deckard himself was a replicant. And they also had short lifespans because Edward James Olmos' character says it's a shame she won't live, but then again, who does? That whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I guess maybe he wasn't, or he found a way to extend the life if he was. And I'm wondering if they're going to do anything with that, or if that was just like online fan theories taken to a next level from just like a neat hint in a film.
Yeah. I'm under the impression that in the novel, it's pretty clear he's not a replicant. And they left some ambiguity in there in the movie just as another layer. I think Ridley Scott likes the idea of that being a question, but from what I know, and I don't know, I didn't read the novel.
I read it.
From what I know, I don't think he is. But.
The novel's pretty different overall, though. It's
that's true. So they can change whatever, really.
Yeah, they definitely, which I think worked for the film. There is this whole subplot in the novel about a religion called Mercerism, and it drove a lot of the plot as well. And there was this whole thing with actually having replicant replicant pets. And if you can afford an actual like goat, you were richer than the guy who had a replicant goat in his yard. There was a lot of weird stuff that wouldn't translate to film, so they definitely changed it for the better, I think, for the film. So,
is 2049 going to be based on a novel as well, or is it original story?
I honestly, they'll probably take elements from it, but it'll probably be more elements from the film itself. So it's probably an original story.
But is there another book in that world that it could be based on?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
So that'll be interesting. I really like Denis Villeneuve, the director. I mean, he's knocked everything he's done out of the park, in my opinion.
I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I am too. It looks good. We also have the butterfly effect to talk about, though.
Speaking of excitement.
Max, I'm excited to hear the plot synopsis for the butterfly effect.
Well, this is a pretty straightforward plot synopsis here. Evan Treborn suffers blackouts during significant events of his life. As he grows up, he finds a way to remember these lost memories and a supernatural way to alter his life by reading his journal.
The by reading his journal makes it sound so emo.
Yeah, and yes.
It is.
This is... I described it when we watched it as Citizen Kane for white trash.
Yep, which is, I think, perfect.
or A Beautiful Mind for rednecks.
Yeah.
It falls somewhere between those two areas. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting movie because there's a lot of parts in here that are good. Like Ashton Kutcher, this was pretty much at the height of his stardom. This is either right after that '70s show or it's in the middle of it. And this is a script that got passed around a lot but never got made until he came on board as the executive producer. So there's a lot of power there. And then, I mean, a lot of interesting like B-list actors that are also in it, like Amy Smart and Logan Lerman as a child actor again. Yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot of pieces here. And like we kind of mentioned in our teaser, the story is kind of fine. Like it executes its story well enough. Yeah. It's just kind of garbage.
It's the problem is you don't care about the characters. There's a lot of cheap moments in the film. It's funny. It's laughably funny. Yeah. And I don't think
spots
that's
it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Ethan Suplee's character design is just off the wall the entire time.
For no reason.
For no reason. He could have just been without all the theatrics, just like normal looking, but wearing
he could have just been a college
kid with eyeliner. That would have been fine, you know?
Yeah. Instead, he was a juggalo.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a sex fiend juggalo.
Aren't we all?
But we picked this one because we both had the same reaction when we watched the trailer, which was laughter.
Yep.
And we thought it would look funny. I'm glad it actually was funny because there's been plenty of times where me and you have picked a film and we're like, this looks hilarious, and it's not.
Looking at you, good luck, Chuck.
Even Good Luck Chuck was a little bit funnier than God, what was the last one we watched like this?
Mr. Deeds.
Maybe Mr. Deeds, yeah. We were like Sandler.
Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code. Da Vinci Code, to be fair, had funny pieces, just not a lot of them.
No. What else were we considering here?
Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls.
That's the sequel, right?
I think so.
I think Ace Ventura: Pet Detective is the original.
Yep, you're right. This is the one where he gets birthed out of the rhino.
That's all I needed to hear to not pick it.
Yeah. Coneheads. Which I actually liked Coneheads a lot when I was a kid. There's a couple of funny gags.
I think I was like 9. I think I was 9 when I saw it, and I thought it was hilarious, and then I couldn't find the movie again for 5 years, and I just gave up.
Yeah.
And now I don't care.
I remember thinking it was really funny. There's a moment where I want to say the daughter Conehead lies to her dad and says that a condom is chewing gum, and then later on in the film, he's just chewing condoms and inflating them. And it's just like a bunch of dumb jokes like that. And I think Tom Arnold's in the film. It's weird.
Yeah.
That would have also been that would have made, I think, David Spade a contender. I think that would be his second film.
In the Pantheon.
In the Pantheon, yeah. Flashdance. I
think my sister really likes Flashdance, but I honestly don't know. I don't know much about it.
Flashdance is the one with the girl doing the legs, right?
Yep.
The only thing I know about that movie is that was actually a Puerto Rican male dancer. That's all I know about that film. All the close-up shots and the butt shots of the legs and all that. That's a Puerto Rican guy.
Oh, boy.
He could do it better than... I think he was training her, and he did it better, so they just had him do it.
Was it Jennifer Grey?
Dude, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe a Beals. Okay. It might have been a Beals, but I don't remember what.
A Beals?
Like, that was her last name, Beals or something.
Okay.
Knowing, which is...
Yeah. Nicky Cage.
We should have.
Yeah, that's one where he has like premonitions about the future.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because when we compared it to Butterfly Effect, we were like, this one looks better.
Yeah.
Tears of the Sun.
That is the Bruce Willis, I believe, Antoine Fuqua.
Yeah. It's apparently the same exact plot as King Arthur, so no thank you.
Yeah, no thank you. Jeez.
Resident Evil.
I have never in my life been interested in watching a Resident Evil movie.
There's like 12 of them, I think.
Yeah. There's like one a year now, it feels like.
Yeah, and they keep making money somehow. I don't know if it's foreign markets or what, but...
Yeah, I don't know. But even back to the beginning, I wouldn't have wanted to go back into that.
I've seen this one. It's not good. And it barely has anything to do with the video game, which I only like watched people play. I never actually played it. It has all the names there, but it's just different.
Yeah.
Johnny English.
Yeah, that's the Mr. Bean led James Bond parody. I loved that movie as a kid.
Is that the one with Natalie Imbruglia? I think it is.
Very that sounds right.
Australian woman who plays his.
Yeah, it's honestly been so long since
And last but not least, Terminator Salvation.
Yeah, I remember not hating Terminator Salvation, but I've only seen it once.
It's not terrible.
Yeah.
I would say it's better than Terminator Genisys, having seen Terminator Genisys. But I don't know what that one's rated, so that could be lower than this for all I know.
I feel like it is, but I also don't know.
This one was during, which this still happens with a lot of movie trailers, but this was during that era where if you had a really good twist in your movie, the guys who cut your trailer would put it in the trailer, ruining your movie. And this
like in the post M. Night Shyamalan era.
Where people didn't realize twists should stay twists. So
yeah, there's a reason that they work.
Spoiler warning: if you haven't seen this one, there's something with like the main character is actually a Terminator, is what you find out at the end.
Yeah. I don't even remember. It's Christian Bale, right? That's that one.
He plays John Connor in that one. The guy who's forgettable, but you like him recently, and because he was in
Sam Worthington.
He plays the. It's like a man who was turned into a Terminator instead of a Terminator who's like made like a man.
Okay.
It was just whatever. But
Sam Worthington, it's interesting now because I used to literally be able to see pictures of him and not say his name. But now that I've seen him in something good, I remember his name every time now. He's coming out in a really trashy looking Oscar bait movie soon that I can't remember the name of, but his daughter dies. And we saw the trailer at the start of La La Land. It looks so laughably bad.
Yeah. I think we watched that here too.
Yeah, I know we did, but I can't even remember the name of it. There's one scene where he's sprinting on water with Jesus that made me laugh for like 20 minutes.
I think Sam Worthington, I think he could just do that in real life, like water sprinting.
They weren't even going to put that in the movie, and then he just started doing it. They're like, well, roll the cameras.
Watch this. So. Yeah, but anyway, we had interesting choices. Like I think Flashdance, Coneheads, and maybe even Terminator Salvation would have been interesting to watch and talk about. But really, when you get down to it, none of them compare to the Butterfly Effect. No,
the Butterfly Effect is like just the right level of interestingness that you want.
This is that
I was
movie...
surprised.
Go ahead.
Please.
I was going to say, this is that movie that stupid kid on the school bus would have been like, you have to see the Butterfly Effect. And you'd have been like, cool.
Yeah. Like, for me, that was Eagle Eye when I was in 10th grade. And this was people's Eagle Eye, I think.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Higher rated than Eagle Eye, though, so... Eagle Eye's still better.
We sometimes debate, like, what songs should be in movies. And I thought about it a lot. And this movie should really have some Nickelback. Yeah,
it definitely should.
Like and like
there's room for it.
Like when they're burning all the stuff in the end, spoilers, they could have played like Photograph while he's holding a photograph.
That would have worked there.
Like, boom.
Yeah.
So
or like when they're burning that dog alive.
God.
That's where this movie goes, everyone.
Yeah. So
this was actually a large success, I'd say, at the box office. It had a budget of like 13 to 15 million, which is super low. And it kind of surprised me, but I think that's because today we get a lot of these inflated movie budgets that just are ridiculous. So but then thinking about it, like there's not huge splashy effects or anything in this. There's no action set pieces or anything really.
No, it's pretty self-contained, a lot of reused sets. So. Yeah,
for sure. It opened at 17.1 million, which already makes its budget back. It won its weekend, which was January 23rd of 2004. It opened against Win a Date with Tad Hamilton.
God.
I believe is that Topher Grace and Josh Duhamel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
In a rom-com. I don't remember the female lead. I'm going to guess. I didn't look it up, but maybe like a Reese Witherspoon or a Diane Kruger.
I could see like a Bosworth, maybe a Kate Bosworth.
Kate Bosworth, yeah, that feels like it.
It was Kate Bosworth.
Hey.
And you're right on your boys there.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, Josh Duhamel is Tad Hamilton, and Topher Grace is like either her boyfriend or just a crush.
I'm guessing
he has a crush
that's
on Kate
like
Bosworth.
The best friend, the friend zone guy.
Yeah. And Tad's so special, and he wants to work in there. So, total domestic run for the Butterfly Effect was 57.9 million. And I know it made like 40 million foreign. It almost did 100 million total. So that's a pretty darn good turnout for that low budget. So, say what you want about the film, but it made money.
I mean, there was word of mouth buzz going around for this film. I remember.
Yeah, I remember it too.
Like I said, people just being like, "Oh, Butterfly Effect," and me being like, "No."
Yeah, this seems like it makes a killing at $5 Walmart DVD bins too.
Oh God, yeah.
This is the DVD that goes on the cardboard box that they put them in. They plaster it on there.
Yeah, for sure. It has like a coupon for Mountain Dew on the front or something.
Yeah. But it's like Mountain Dew Code Red.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. That's actually the sequel.
Butterfly Effect 2 Code Red.
Yeah.
One thing I like that I'm realizing now in watching these like early 2000s and late 90s movies is there's a lot of actors who are much bigger now or who play like a part that you know from today in these movies. Like, for example, the actor who plays Foggy in the Daredevil TV show
Elden Henson.
He plays one of the main characters. Well, not one of the main. He plays a character in this.
He plays a pretty important character.
Yeah.
And speaking of him, they shot all of his like later scenes in the film when he's normal and living a healthy life. They shot those first because the director wanted him to like go through weight gain to play the other versions of the character. So he was like, well, let's get this first and then I can do that after. And the director, I guess, didn't really expect him to do it, but he went ahead and did all of it. Pulled a Christian Bale there and just like gained tons of weight afterwards to show like he could do it.
And then they cut his scenes with the tons of weight.
God. One funny thing
would suck
is
if you gain like 40 pounds for a role and then they cut you from the movie.
So you gain another 40 out of depression. One thing that we both thought from seeing the trailer, they always show him with his like chubby friend when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And we kept thinking Ethan Suplee's like obese goth character would be this chubby kid from his childhood, and it was not. And we were both like shocked when we realized that in the film.
That was one of the bigger twists of the movie.
We were like, no.
It made so much sense, and then that was nice that they brought Foggy in.
Yeah, no, I like it.
And he did fine.
Yeah, he did a good job with what he had.
We had a young Logan Lerman here too. He plays the child version of our main character,
Evan.
Yeah, Evan, played by Ashton Kutcher, and he wore different colored contacts because he doesn't have the same eye color. He has blue eyes, Logan Lerman, and Kutcher has brown.
Dedicated to his roles.
You know what? This is Logan Lerman joining the pantheon, and both as child actors.
That's true. As the son of crazy men, as the sons of crazy men.
Yeah.
I don't know how you word that grammatically, but either way.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Either way, in both movies, he played a son who kind of started inheriting his dad's gift/curse.
Yeah, he's typecast.
Yeah, maybe not anymore, but back here.
No. Now he's like a real actor, and I'm very fond of him.
Yeah, no, he's cool. In the early versions of the script, Evan was originally Chris. And when you put his name together, it's Chris Treborn, which also says Christ Reborn.
I don't like that angle so much.
This is how they did it. And so they got mad. Well, they got mad. They realized that's probably not good, especially with their core audience here. So
it's
they
not worth
changed it
doing
to
that.
Evan Reborn, Treborn, which means Event Reborn.
That makes more sense.
Which is, it's so plainly there in the name. It's so on the nose that I am just like, okay, guys, seriously. But
it's no Topsy Kretz, though.
It's. Is it? I mean, honestly,
Topsy Kretz is the kind of name I would come up with for a D&D character.
No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah. But one of my favorite bits of trivia for this movie is that Ashton Kutcher read up about psychology and mental disorders and chaos theory for his role. And I'm imagining him doing all that and then getting the script and just being really disappointed.
Who knows, man? He might have just been even more into it.
Yeah, really. I mean, the script isn't anything complicated here. I don't know what chaos theory is, but
that's because you never watched Jurassic Park.
I watched Jurassic Park as a child, and it made me vomit a lot.
Well, there's a lot about chaos theory in there. Basically, dinosaurs.
Well, it definitely didn't come up in the butterfly effect then.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I looked up
Uh,
the directors, which were Eric Bress and Jay Mackey Gruber.
yeah. They wrote it as well.
They wrote it, and there's really nothing beyond. I think they did Final Destination 2,
Oh, okay.
so which is like
That's fun.
one of the from the first three. It was the one that wasn't done by James Wong, I want to say. So
Okay. Is it considered one of the worst ones?
I actually never saw the second one, so but I know a lot of people who love the second one.
The fact that you never saw it, that's almost telling enough.
I mean, I'm down to see it. I think I saw it
Yep.
but fell asleep in it, but I was probably very young and maybe drinking at the time, so who knows?
What a combo.
What a combo.
Eric Stoltz is in this movie.
He
He
is?
plays the parent of Evan's love interest,
Kaylee. Yeah.
This is the creepiest thing ever, in my opinion.
Is this the way?
But yeah, Eric Stoltz wore a wig made from his own hair in the movie.
That seems like something one of your D&D characters would do.
Make wigs of his own hair.
And then
Well,
wear them.
what's the point of
I mean,
wearing a wig of your own hair?
Maybe he has a wig of his own hair that he's like had made for when he plays long hair characters. I think he had long hair in Pulp Fiction.
It just seems like such a strange thing to me.
Everything Eric Stoltz does is a strange
Yeah.
thing to me, and it should be to anyone else.
That's the thing. It's so strange, but it seems so normal because it's Eric Stoltz.
Yeah,
And it fits his character.
it does. The creepiest person in this film, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess we should just go ahead and get into this plot.
Yeah. Yeah, the plot, it felt like it was moving slow for the first like third of it. Because it all starts with when Evan is young, when he's a child. So that's when we got our Logan Lerman.
And the first third is chronological. Well, technically it's not.
Yeah.
We do begin with him running through into an office at like a hospital or something, looking for his journals, and he starts writing down, "If you find this, it has failed, and I am dead," or something like that, which doesn't make sense. But even in the context of the film, it really didn't make sense. But
No, and that scene was in the movie twice because it was at the beginning and almost the end, and neither time it made much sense to me.
if you remember, remind me, and I think I have an explanation for it.
Okay.
But we'll get to that later.
I have one too.
Okay.
But we'll get on that. Okay, so we got Evan. He's a kid.
He's a kid.
Lives with a single mother.
Single mom.
All you know about his dad is that he's out of the picture at the start. Yeah. One of the first scenes of child Evan is him being invited over to his friend Kaylee's house, where they're going to film a movie. Kaylee and her brother Tommy and their father, Eric Stoltz, are going to film a version of Robin Hood together. And this is where we have our first blackout, right?
I don't think... Actually, no. It's the drawing. She drops him off
Oh,
at school
yeah, that's
first.
how it starts. I forgot about that.
So, basically, like Scott said, there's a couple blackouts. One is in school. He does this weird drawing.
Yeah. Of like him killing his family or something.
Yeah. And, or actually, it was him stabbing two people.
Yeah.
And actually, I saw who the people were later. But, so it's him stabbing two people.
Okay.
I think it was a blonde guy and a bald guy. But they just showed it for a brief second.
Yeah.
So yeah, the teacher talks to her about it, and she's all like concerned. So she's like, maybe he needs to hang out with some friends. When she goes to take him to the friend's house, she finds him standing in the kitchen just holding a knife, and is like, what's his name? Evan. She's like, Evan, stop it. And then he stops, and then she takes him to the Eric Stoltz Funhouse Bonanza.
One important thing to note is I don't think Evan had remembered that he drew the picture, and he had no idea why he was holding the knife.
Yeah.
Because when she said something to him, he just like drops it and is kind of startled.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we get to Eric Stoltz Funhouse, and this is where our next blackout happens. I don't remember if they show it here, but what happens is essentially Eric Stoltz, who's the mother or the father of these two kids, Kaylee and Tommy, films Kaylee and Evan taking their clothes off at the least, but I think the implication was that they had to have some sort of relation together.
Yeah, it was creepy.
And they're 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah, and Tommy is just staring, watching while like attacking a doll head or something.
Yeah, he's either jealous or I don't think he's just mad. I'm pretty sure he's just jealous.
I think he's both like protective like territorial, not protective in a good way, but territorial over his sister, and misplacing his hatred towards his father on Evan instead.
Yeah, and that's definitely started here.
Yeah, and from there, I think
the next important scene. No. The next important scene would be when he meets his father.
Yeah, so he finally gets to meet his dad.
His family's concerned, or his mom's concerned about all these blackouts he's having, and their father had the same thing. You find out kind of here, and he's in this mental hospital. What's the name of it again? Because it comes up like 5 times.
It's like, it sounds like Bellevue, but it's not Bellevue. It's like Sunnyvale. I think it is Sunnyvale.
Sunnyvale, Sunnyvale Institute. Yep. That's a good dip into the mind there, Max.
Yeah, I just blacked out and remembered it. So yeah, they go to Sunnyvale. The dad, I think I said his name was Keith Callum Rennie. He's a character actor. He was in Battlestar Galactica. He's played a lot of like creepy villains before.
You recognize him right away.
Oh yeah. He has a very recognizable face once you see him in enough stuff, which he's in a ton of stuff. But so they bring the dad out. They talk for like 1 second. Does blackout noise, and then all of a sudden he's getting strangled
by his father. Yeah.
A guard comes over and like cold cocks him in the head, and then we cut to a funeral because his dad is dead. Because they cold cocked him in the head. Yeah. So.
But this was very startling because it all happens in like 20 seconds.
The movie.
By the time you realize it's his father, he's dead.
Yeah. They pull no punches. I mean, they don't hold back any punches. They just They just go for everything. Any beat they can go with, they go with.
Yeah. I mean, they kicked it off pretty much with child molestation, so it's not going to pull any punches there.
Molestation. So from there, we're. Is this when we get to the mailbox? Yeah, the mailbox. Yep. This is like one of the biggest key points of his childhood.
Yep. Yeah, so Evan and Kaylee and Tommy are still friends, and there's this other kid. I don't actually remember the character's name.
Lenny.
Lenny. So they're kind of 4 little scamps running around, and you can kind of tell they're brats. Like they're all smoking, and they're maybe 13 years old. Yeah. Is kind of where I picked it. And Tommy finds what he thinks is a firecracker, and they want to go blow something up. So they're just like walking through the woods, and they see this house and this mailbox, and the mailbox was an exact model of the house, which I feel like I've seen before, but only in movies. Do people do that?
Not around here.
Yeah, not around here. So Tommy convinces Lenny to go light this firecracker and put it in the mailbox. And they do. And then we have another blackout here. And when Evan comes to, they're just like running through the forest. And Lenny's totally freaked out. It almost looked like he was dead because they were like carrying him and he wasn't moving, but he's not. He's just totally spooked. So you don't know what happens here for a good, 40 minutes of the movie?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. But for the sake of our continuity here, what happened was the people who live in that house got home, and it was a woman with a child, and they went to check the mail, and the firecracker was in there, and the mailbox explodes and kills them.
Yeah.
The baby and the mother. And it wasn't actually a firecracker, it was a stick of dynamite.
Yeah. Because Kaylee's creepy father had a stick of dynamite in his basement, because why not?
Yeah. And it was in like a flashlight or a VHS tape or something, I remember.
Which, I mean, yeah, that sounds a little ridiculous, but now that I think about it, I mean, if you're the kind of guy who's going to make child porn of your kids, you probably do have a stick of dynamite.
Why in a VHS case.
Yeah, why not?
What VHS do you put a stick of dynamite in?
Let's see, that was like 1989 or 95. That was 95.
Yeah.
When they found the dynamite. Let's see. Maybe Running Man?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah.
Or Demolition Man.
But see, your kids would probably want to watch that one.
Yeah, it has to be something kids wouldn't want to watch.
Out of Africa?
I kind of want to watch Out of Africa, though.
You're not a kid? Bingo.
Got it. All right, so now we have one more really big moment. Okay, so Lenny there, though, in his like weird like walking coma, he's just like totally spooked and doesn't want to see anything from Evan anymore. It's kind of, or like any of that group really.
But then doesn't he get injured somehow and go to a hospital?
He was at the hospital from that and came back, but I don't know if there was actually any injury because he wasn't like banged up after he had come back.
Yeah. I just remember, I think Evan had blood on his face after this, but I don't remember if they explained that or if it was from the dead mom and baby. I just don't remember, honestly.
If I'm remembering correctly, which I also may not be, but in the original version of these events, he had like run out to try and like stop them and like gotten blown back a little bit. So that might be why he was cut up. Not like seriously injured, but that's all I can think of though.
Yeah. But yeah, so from here we go to a movie theater just for a brief moment.
Yeah.
Where I think Tommy is telling them like they need to get over it. That never happened.
Oh yeah.
And they're freaked out for some reason. Kaylee and Evan, besides seeing, people dying, but they're in this movie. And then what movie were they watching?
I want to say it was
Seven.
Terminator.
It was Seven.
Seven.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so they leave because
Great movie.
It's too weird for them to watch Seven. And Tommy's like laughing at the terrible murders in the film.
The first serial murder.
Yeah.
Gluttony.
So Evan goes to comfort Kaylee and then kisses her, and then Tommy sees this, has a freak out. Some kid trips him. Some teenager.
And then I think he kills him.
It looked like it. He just grabs like a metal pole and slams it into his face.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad. So then
it was weird to see this from 13-year-olds too.
Yeah. The two kids they take off.
Yeah.
And then they end up somehow they're hanging out with Lenny again. I guess they go made up with Lenny.
Yeah.
This part was like
time
choppy,
had passed.
But time had passed. They get Lenny to finally hang out. He only hangs out if Tommy's not around. And then we find that Tommy is like in a junkyard burning stuff.
Yeah, so I think Evan was about to move at this point, because remember they made a point of that, and him and Kaylee and Lenny are walking around, and they end up at this junkyard where Tommy has tied up Evan's family dog in a burlap sack, and I want to say there was some other weird stuff happening.
Yeah,
but he pretty much just pins Evan down, just like beating the shit out of him.
He accidentally hits his sister. Yeah,
and he accidentally hits his sister. And I remember Evan saying to Lenny, Lenny, please, let the dog out, do your best. And Lenny can't get through it. And then is this where Tommy says to Lenny, if you touch that, I'm going to kill your whole family or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And so then we have another blackout here, though. And when Evan comes to, he's all bloodied up, and so is Kaylee. And the burned wreckage of the dog is there.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking grim.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
And Lenny's all messed up.
Yeah.
He's just emotionally messed up by this point. So,
yeah, I think this is where. No, never mind. Sorry.
So this is where they finally.
There's timeline confusion in this movie, so it's hard to think about a little.
This is where they finally move, basically. Basically, what happens from here is the final catalyst that his mom needed. She moved him out of town. He holds up his journal where he wrote a note saying, "I'll come back for you."
Yeah, Kaylee's chasing after their moving van, and he has one of those old composition notebooks, and he holds it up. "I'll come back for you." Yeah. It was super dumb.
Yeah. And from there we cut to grown-up Ashton Kutcher. He's in college.
Yep. I think he's a senior in college.
Yeah, he's up there because they're out at a bar drinking, but he's also working on a big research project. He's real buddy with his professor.
Yeah.
And he's living large, man. He's having a good time. Speaking
of living large, enter roommate played by Ethan Suplee.
Mm-hmm.
We described his character a little bit, but I mean, everyone knows what Ethan Suplee looks like. If you know Ethan Suplee, you know what he looks like. But just add on top of that a full juggalo.
Yeah.
Just right on top.
Just
and sex fiend, like we said.
Yeah, full juggalo sex fiend.
Yeah, and it's as weird as it sounds. It's the most out of place part of this movie.
Yeah, and that becomes a plot point in the first scene here, because they go to a bar. They're playing pool. They're macking on some honeys. These guys laugh at him and throw a napkin at him or something, and so he shoots a pool cue at their beer.
Yeah,
destroys their entire table, and he just laughs about it.
Yeah,
shortly
he's
after
a real
this,
son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's a real son of a bitch. Shortly after this, Evan shows back up at the dorm with one of these young ladies from the bar.
A young hussy.
They're starting to get a little frisky. And then, for some reason, she's like, "What's under your bed?" And then pulls out his box of journals from under his bed.
Yeah, which is weird,
Real weird.
I've never been with a girl who wants to read my journals, but she definitely does.
Yeah.
And she's about to read them, and he takes them back. And then she's like, well, read them to me, right?
And then he blacks out again.
Yeah, he blacks out again. I don't really know why.
Maybe
Sometimes when I'm intimate with a woman, I black out. The one thing that we didn't mention that was an important detail was Evan mentions that he hasn't had one of the blackouts in like 7 years.
Yeah.
It's like his anniversary of 7 years without a blackout.
That's why they're.
And I think the implication is the last blackout was when his family dog was burned alive.
So yeah, there's some other story building here. He hangs out with his mom. Some other dumb stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, he goes back home, right?
No, they just go and get dinner, I think. When he hangs out with his mom.
But he's Kaylee, doesn't he?
Say what?
Then he goes to see Kaylee.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because that's when he reads the first thing.
Yeah. Though, you know what? His mom wouldn't have been in the same town because they had moved.
Because they moved, yeah. So he goes and gets dinner with his mom, but when he reads his journals, he burns himself with a cigarette. And so he's like, that's strange. Then I think he goes and talks to Kaylee, or the cigarette comes right after. Basically, the cigarette's the thing that makes him realize when he goes back and blacks out and reads his journal
he can change
that he can change times. This comes into play because he goes and visits Kaylee. She's a waitress at the same restaurant his mom worked at.
Yep, like the diner or whatever.
And she's Amy Smart, kind of dressed down, looking, like a cute waitress, but just in a small town.
Lower middle class.
Tired looking, exhausted.
Yeah.
And so he catches up with her and he's like, hey, when we were kids, some messed up stuff happened and I feel like we should talk about it.
Yeah.
And she's like...
And she reacts very negatively to it.
She's like, you haven't called me. I was apparently really important to you and you just cut me out of your life.
Yeah.
Then you show up and he's like, no, you don't have to feel bad. You shouldn't feel bad about anything. And she's like, maybe you shouldn't feel bad about anything either. You're obviously the one bringing this up.
Yeah.
And so it's a really... It's a hard thing for them. And then he goes home and then Tommy calls him up and is like, I'm going to fucking kill you if you ever talk to my sister again.
Yeah.
Because we just found out, well, I guess he doesn't say if you ever talk to her again, but he's like, I'm going to fucking kill you for talking to my sister because she killed herself.
Yeah, that night.
So he's like, this shouldn't happen. He shows up at the funeral. He's all upset about it. Then he goes home and he's like,
I can fix this. Yep.
So he picks up the journal.
He picks up his maybe earliest journal. So the whole reason with the journals is he finds out his mom said something about, your father started going crazy at the exact same age as you or something like that. And he finds out he's trying to kind of figure out the details from his blackouts. And that's why he's reading his journals again. And that's why he's going to talk to Kaylee. So the first blackout that was really important was the molesting one. So he goes back to that to try and fix it.
Yeah.
The effect was super cheesy whenever he would go back to.
Everything started shaking.
First the words on the page would start shaking, and then the whole world would start shaking. It was both cheesy and nauseating.
Yeah.
A bad combo.
So he just all of a sudden shows up back in the Robin Hood videotape stage.
The Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, and he looks at Eric Stoltz. Young Logan Lerman looks at Eric Stoltz and is like, hey, fuckbag, I got to talk to you.
Well, first he has Kaylee cover her ears.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then he goes at it. That's important because Kaylee doesn't know that he said all this stuff. He pretty much is just telling Eric Stoltz, if you touch her, you're fucking dead, man.
Yeah.
He says, I'll castrate you.
Yeah.
And just totally spooks him. But Tommy is on the stairs and his ears aren't covered. He hears the whole thing. So
he rounds it out by saying, and start disciplining Tommy because that kid's a little shit. Something like that.
Yeah.
And
which is true.
It is true, but I mean, he definitely could have used some more tact there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what happens here is after he's done with all this, he cuts back to his present day.
21-year-old or whatever.
Yeah. He wakes up in a bed and he's bleeding from his nose and is like, what happened? And then as soon as he wakes up, he has this realization he's in bed with a beautiful woman who is Kaylee, who is I guess
she's all cleaned up.
Yeah, they're
she's
either
preppy.
I guess they're in a sorority house, right?
Yep, they're in a sorority house.
So they're in this preppy lifestyle. He has a nosebleed. His brain rearranges and he feels the pain of it as he remembers.
Yeah, which was
two
weird
timelines. Too. I kind of liked it, but it was just way overdone in the film.
It made some of the jumping around a little easier because when his brain would rearrange, you'd see the things that would change. They would show you the original and then like how it changed a little bit. So it helps with some of the continuity, which you need in a movie that jumps around this much.
Yeah. So basically the premise here is he has had an awesome life. Everything's pretty great, different. But everything's different. He has the girl he loves. I think his mom's fine in this one, right?
His mom looks a lot better.
Yeah, his mom's remarried. He's popular in college. He's like a leader at his frat.
Yep.
He has pledges.
Yeah.
Our first indication that anything's wrong is him and Stumper, I think was his name, or Thumper, Ethan Suplee's character.
Yeah, it was
that they're not friends.
It was Stumper
he's like,
or something.
He's like, hey Stumper, what time is it, man? And he's like, I don't. What the fuck are you doing talking to me? And like storms off, and we're like, okay.
I think that this scene is why his character was so weird, because in the original timeline he's like relating with them and they're roommates, and then in this timeline it just shows you how different everything is because Stumper's so out there. That's all I can think of.
No, for sure. It just shows.
But
you
he's
that,
like, "Where's your Rolex?"
Yeah. It shows you that he's just that Evan himself is really different. So this, I mean, everything's not that bad though. Like he's kind of into it. He's like,
good.
this is everything I want. Blah,
because
blah, blah.
Kaylee's healthy and happy and alive and with him.
Yeah, and then they go out to eat. Well, actually, no. He has his pledges throw like a nice dinner for them.
Yeah, he wants to have a real special night with her. And so they do.
They go around walking, and she's like, Evan, you're actually really different. She's like, the way you walk, the way you talk.
Your accent.
Everything about you is different. And he's like, what do you mean? And then all of a sudden she's like, hey, isn't that your jacket? And his like preppy yellow jacket is just laying in the middle of the field.
Yeah. What? Isn't that your jacket?
Yeah, it's so dumb. And then her brother Tommy runs out, and he's like, I just got out of like juvie or something, and you guys locked me away.
Fucking kill you.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And he runs out with like a crowbar, a knife, or something.
Yeah, I don't remember what he had, but he wants to kill Evan.
Yeah.
For messing with his sister, I guess.
This is my biggest like complaint with this film right off the bat. Basically, they get into a fight. Evan overpowers him.
Yeah.
And then beats him to death.
Yep.
And then he just goes to jail. Right away, he's just like imprisoned. And it's not like he's in a city jail, like waiting for his trial. He's like in prison, which I get. I mean, that happens to some people. It's kind of rare, but it does happen. I just don't feel like it would happen to like a preppy frat kid who killed a guy who was trying to kill him. You did have the caveat that maybe the sister wasn't complying to say it was self-defense.
Yeah, because she wasn't happy that he killed her brother.
Yeah, so...
and then the only other thing I can do, because don't they talk about it? He talks with a lawyer.
Yeah.
And he's like, I need my journals, is what he's telling the lawyer, essentially. But the only thing I can really think of is it's going to be a long time before the trial goes in full, and you're not going to keep him in county lockup for like 6 months to a year.
And
so they put him in.
They just, the lawyer or the mom, whenever anybody showed up, somebody should have said it just to like kind of paint it out. But
no, I get that.
That was just my big complaint with this part, because I mean, otherwise it's there's some interesting things that happen here.
I thought the prison part was the weakest part of the movie,
except for Kevin Durand.
Yeah, our boy, not your boy, not my boy.
Yeah,
our boy, and podcast all-star Kevin Durand.
Sure. He is now the front runner, right?
Yep, this is either his 6th or his 7th appearance in one of our movies. Think about that.
Yeah.
It's 34 movies. He's been in a quarter of our movies almost.
And each one's getting better, so.
Yeah, exactly. But he plays just another prisoner, I think his roommate in prison, or just the leader of like the white power group of prisoners.
He's not the white power group though. He's like literally, I think he plays a Mexican guy.
Oh. And he's like super Christian.
Yeah. He's, let's see what his name was. Yeah, he plays Carlos. He doesn't do like a super racist accent, but he's just like, he's like, hey, I mean, what's up, man? And it's kind of like that. And then Evan's just like, hey, how do I like not get raped? And he's just like, you just do. You can't avoid it, man. He's like, just pray to Jesus afterwards. Yeah. And so then Evan, when he realizes he's stuck, he gets a plan. He's like, hey, Carlos, if I can prove to you that I'm sent here by God to be in this cell with you, will you help me? And he's like, yeah, but I don't know how you're going to do it. And so then Evan is just like, so he had just like one little page. He reads it. He ends up back in kindergarten and does his drawing that we mentioned earlier. Then he runs over in the middle of drawing class to like two spikes that are showing. They look like receipt stabbers from a restaurant. Yeah. And he just slammed his hands down and pierced them to give himself stigmata. Then came back to the present day. Came back to present day, and he had 2 wounds in his hands, like stigmata. Yeah. And Kevin Durant's like, it just showed up. Holy crap! Yeah. Like this is Jesus.
Yeah, he thinks he's like the second coming of Jesus. Yeah. So now he's got a boy in prison with him.
Key point though, when it flashed back to him doing the drawing, he was drawing himself stabbing a blonde man and a bald man, which are the 2 guys who stole all of his journals when he finally did get them. They're the 2 prisoners who stole the journals. Yeah. So,
and they're the ones who want to rape him, right?
Yeah, they're going to rape him. Yeah. And they say to him at one point, like, you either get the knife with the blood, or they made some kind of butt rape joke that was really bad.
Like, you got a bloody knife or a dicky butt or something.
Yeah, it was literally like that poorly written. But
so then their big plan is for like Evan to seduce them into being raped, essentially, and for Kevin Durant to show up and help him out. So the way they did it was ridiculous, in my opinion. These 2 guys are in their cell, and Evan goes up, and he's just like, all right, boys, like, drop your drawers. I'm going to suck both your dicks or something like that. And then like, cool. They start to. It works.
Yeah. We're like 5 minutes into Ashton Kutcher blowing him. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. He's like, we really need to make sure they're sold. Kevin Durant, Carlos, just runs in and starts fucking stabbing them.
Well, I think first Ashton gets a nut stab on each one. He like stabs them both in the crotch. And then Kevin Durant runs in, stabs him, like beats him up, and then closes the gate. And
holds it closed.
Holds it closed while all these prisoners and guards are trying to get in or whatever. Evan grabs his notebook, finally, and starts reading. And from here...
Yep.
Where
he goes back to the mailbox, right?
No.
To his dad?
This one, because this is the one where she ends up... Oh, I think I know this one. This is where they go back to the burning scene.
The dog burning?
And this is where Lenny... I think I remember now, he basically goes back and he's like, Lenny, I need you to like help us fight this time.
Yeah. Well, what he does is he finds like this jagged piece of metal, and he hands it to Lenny, and he's like, when I say just use this, like fix it, essentially. Like he's really vague about it.
He's saying like he's trying to tell him to cut the dog out, but he never really says it. He's just like, just this is what you need to get, to end the situation. Like, don't get stuck, blah, blah, blah. So then we cut to the actual like beat up scene.
Same thing happening.
Yeah. And he smacks his sister by accident with the stick, and then he's like, I'm going to kill you, Evan. And he's like, wait, man, this isn't about me or you. This is like your dad. If you kill me, if you do this, if you burn my dog, you're going to go to juvie. You're not going to be there to protect your sister for all those years. Like, what are you going to do? And he's like, oh, wow. Like, no one's ever just told me, like, I need to be there for my sister. That's really smart. And then Lenny just jumps up and is like, gotcha, and like stabs him in the back.
Doesn't he stab him through the chest, up through the chest with that shank?
So he just like shanks him to death.
And then Evan's like, shit.
Yeah. And basically from here, the same story progresses, and he ends up back in like his college dorm. But the beds are reversed.
And Ethan Suplee's there again.
Yeah, the beds are reversed,
seems
but
like
Ethan Suplee's normal. He's like, okay, cool.
Yep.
And then I guess he does some research and can't find Kaylee on the grid anywhere. And then he finds out that Lenny's in an insane asylum, the same one from earlier, Sunnyvale. And so he goes and he's like, what's going on, man? He tries to find out from Lenny. Yeah.
It's been so long. Lenny's literally tied to a table.
Yeah. And then he finds Kaylee's dad and is like, listen up, fuckbag, where's your daughter? And he's like, oh, you can find her on the street corner. And so he does. He finds sex worker Kaylee. And I mean, she's playing the most stereotypical drugged out sex worker of all
Everything
time here.
Everything you're imagining is what she is.
Yeah. And basically the premise here is he's like, look, you don't have to do this. We used to be in love in this other timeline. Like, I'm not crazy. I can be here for you. And she's like, where have you been for the last 7 years? How about you just fuck off? I don't care.
Yeah.
And so then he's
Evan
like,
doesn't like that one bit.
No. He's like, well, I got to change this shit. And so he goes back to his dorm, and he reads again. And this time
he goes to the mailbox.
The mailbox, yeah.
Yep.
And
so this time, what he does, he knows that the firecracker is going to blow up in the mailbox and stuff, so he wants to be this hero. And as the mom and the baby are running up, he goes and does he take the firecracker out and throw it away or something?
He goes to say, "Hey, lady, don't like." He's like trying to tell her, "Stop." And he's near the mailbox, but then Tommy's like, "Well, we're not. We all should, do this." Basically, he realizes he doesn't say it, but he realizes I need to help this woman too. So they all.
And he runs out and tackles her to get her away.
Tommy tackles her. Evan gets up to the mailbox. I don't know what his plan was. I think he was going to open it and throw the dynamite or something. It explodes.
Yeah.
It just blows up. And then it cuts back to modern time.
To present day.
And he's in his dorm. He's back in his normal bed, and he's just laying there kind of laughing. And he's like, I did it. And then
he looks over.
He hears sex noises.
Yeah.
Where he expects Ethan Suplee is now Lenny. Grown up.
Yay.
Played by Elden Henson. Is that his name?
Looking very well balanced.
Yeah. And
he looks like a good dude here.
We see the seductive arm of a young lady, but we don't see who it is. And then Evan's trying to get up out of bed, and he's like, "Wait a second."
We don't see the seductive arms of Evan because his arms were blown off in the explosion.
Yeah.
And he's handicapped from the waist down.
And this is where that budget comes into place, because this is some of the worst CG I've seen on a handicapped character in a movie.
I read how they did it, which is it's very simple the way they did it.
Did they just green screen his arms?
Oh, they filmed the same scene twice. Once with his arms, or they used the same camera motions. Once without him in the bed, and again with him using green screen gloves.
Yeah.
And then they just spliced the not him in the bed over where his arms were going to be. So that's very simple, but
it's probably the oldest trick in the book for doing that, and it usually works pretty well. It's just here there was a lot of moments where it was very painfully obvious what they were doing.
It was obvious that his arms were tucked into his sleeves.
Yeah. There was a lot of moments like that. Why his body looked lumpy all of a sudden. But okay.
But so he starts freaking out, and then Lenny comes over. He's like, "Hey, are you all right, man? We're best friends and stuff." And then we see who his lady was,
and it's Kaylee. So then his brain rearranges, and he sees all these images of him grumping around in a wheelchair while Kaylee and Lenny hit it off and just have this whirlwind romance. We also see that Tommy isn't bad. He's really clean cut and good. He meets up with them later in the day. He's super Christian. He's like, "Hey man, don't worry about your arms. Your life's gonna get better." And he's like, "Fuck off." And he's just
he's like, "Fuck you, Tommy. I saved those people."
And he's just really unpleasant. And
he has this super awkward conversation with Kaylee where he's like, "You and me, right? Imagine if Lenny was gone."
Yeah.
And she was like, "It's sort of fun to imagine, but he's not, and I love Lenny."
Yeah. And honestly,
Evan doesn't like that.
No. But the thing is, this bothered me when we watched it, because I was like, the three people he grew up with actually have really good lives here.
Yep.
And he should just take it on the chin and just be like, my life is miserable. I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah, he should have just been like, I've really fucked this up a few times. This was a pretty good turnout.
But the key here is his mom. His mom had cancer, lung cancer from chain smoking ever since he got injured. And I get that, wanting to change it because of that. So
one more thing.
Yeah, he was like, let's try this again.
Well, remember, he also tried to kill himself.
Oh, yeah. He did try to drown himself in a bathtub.
He got in a bathtub and just tries to sink down, but Tommy saves him.
And honestly, the moment where Tommy saves him, I was just like, good, Tommy. I'm good with you. He was really caring. He didn't make fun of him, or he was like, come on, man, get out of there. Gave him a hug. And I was like,
in the positive Christian way you would expect it.
Yeah.
Cleaned Up Tommy is played by William Lee Scott, who is another new Pantheon member because he was in Gone in 60 Seconds. I legitimately don't remember his character from that, but good for you, man.
Like
Welcome aboard.
Or something like that. He was definitely in the
Yeah.
youngsters.
Yeah, he was a youngster for sure. Youngster for life.
So,
So he goes back again.
the best part here is he has to have somebody like open the journal for him.
Yeah.
So he could just read off a random page.
Yeah, he makes Lenny like hold the journal for him.
Which is really fucked up because he's trying to steal Lenny's girl.
Yeah, Mr. Steal Your Girl over here. He goes back again, and I legitimately cannot remember what he changed this time. I want to say it was something with the molestation again, but...
Well, I think maybe this is when he goes back first and talks to his dad finally. And that's when he was getting strangled because he shows up and he's like, hey, how do I fix this shit? And his dad's like, oh, is this what's going on? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, I'm going to kill you to take care of it so you don't mess anything else up. And
don't even worry about it.
Yeah, so they just start strangling him. The guards are just there listening to this conversation too, so that's weird. And then that's when that's when they hit him in the head and kill him, and then it cuts back and he's like, that didn't work. And then he goes back one more time, and I think, which time was this?
So here's what happened here, if I remember correctly. Something happened, and after he had talked with his dad, he never kept journals, or his journals were destroyed or something. So he gets back to the present day, and he doesn't have the journals anymore. And I don't even remember the details of this one. I feel like Ethan Suplee was back in, but I legitimately cannot remember why. He ends up in the mental hospital again.
Yeah.
He's getting checked out. The doctor's like, your brain's been like moving. Like, it's totally nuts. And he's just wheeling around in the wheelchair. And he's like, yep, it totally is. Like, can I get my journals now? Like, he's in the asylum. And
we're probably just mixing up multiple asylum moments because there are like 6 in this movie. But no, I think you're right there. Where basically the premise that like the moment here is he needs his journals to fix shit one more time, but he can't because he's in the crazy house. But he doesn't have journals anymore because he stopped keeping them. And he
needs to go back still though.
Yeah, so he has to go back because he's not crazy. And he needs to just go back. He finally figured out what he needs to do, which is remove himself from this situation.
Yeah, but the way he does it this time is he has his mother bring home videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he gets the videos from her.
He wrote the note.
Yeah. Yeah, so he locks himself in the doctor's like office, and he starts playing these home videos, and this is that first scene again where he's like scrambling this note. Yeah. And it makes sense with the note now because like if this didn't work, it means I'm dead or whatever. But he doesn't actually know if the home videos are going to trigger it.
Well, one thing I also read was the director's cut of this film had him going back all the way to the womb and strangling himself because he saw like a moment of his mom pregnant. And so that was the director's cut. And so I think maybe the note was written for the director's cut. Well, not just for that, but it was written for one cut of the film. Wow. And they kept that in there because his goal was to kill himself.
Yeah.
Obviously played out differently. But
so the note doesn't make much sense then.
Yeah, he goes back to
in the theatrical.
No, it doesn't at all. And he goes back to a birthday party where he goes up to Kaylee and he says, I hate you. I hate your family. If you stay around here, I'm going to kill you and your family. Because the whole issue was he eventually found out Kaylee had a really good mom and she had remarried and had a family. All she had to do was go stay, but she always wants to stay because Evan was in town. So his way to push her away was to just like cut things off with her kid, be a dick, scare her away. She went and had a normal life. Him and Lenny had a normal life because Tommy was gone, so nobody to torture them. Him and Lenny are in college when it comes back to normal, and he's just like, oh, cool, like things worked out. His mom's alive. He called his mom and talked to her or something.
Not 30 seconds after he comes back do him and Lenny burn all his journals.
Yeah.
I would think if it were me, I would check things out better. I would make sure things are okay.
Yeah.
All he really did was say to Lenny, like, hey, like, how's Kaylee? And Lenny was like, I don't know a Kaylee. Oh, wait, you mean that girl that we barely knew or something like that?
Yeah.
And then, like you said, he calls his mom. And other than that, he's like, everything else is probably fine.
It's like, woohoo!
Burn him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he makes Lenny go with him, which was weird, too.
Yeah. This would have been when you hit that moment. Look at this photograph.
Yeah, there you go. Bring it in.
But yeah. So
then we have our final scene.
Yeah, we cut 8 years ahead. He has a little ponytail
Yeah,
He's
or a
wearing like
mullet or
a
something slick back.
he's wearing like a suit with no tie. I feel like he had flip
Real
flops and
classic.
sunglasses, but I'm not sure. But
He definitely had
you
sunglasses.
can assume he was like some kind of psychologist in New York City because that's what it looked like.
Yeah, it was definitely New York.
He's walking down the street. He's on the cell phone. He's like, I don't know, get the Chinese food. The Chinese food is fine. It's like some
Yeah,
bullshit
talking to a
conversation you would
woman.
hear somebody saying.
Yeah,
And then, as he's walking through the crowd, he bumps into like a really well-dressed young lady, and it's Kaylee.
boom,
And then
boom.
she stops and looks back at him, and then keeps walking. Then he stops and looks back, and then he keeps walking. While was it a U2 song played? No, it was an Oasis song. While an Oasis song played.
I don't remember which one, but yeah, and they both linger with their looks. You think he's gonna go after, but he doesn't.
Yeah,
Movie ends.
that's the movie.
There were 3 alternate endings that filmed like every way that could have gone, and they talk. One of them, you just talk after her. I don't remember what happens in the others.
Yeah, the key here basically is that like they stop and look at each other a bunch in all the other endings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Besides the director's cut, but then the one ending was he stops and is like, "Hey," she's like, "Hi," and then he's like, "Do you want to get a cup of coffee?" And she's like, "Sure." And it's just like, I mean, being this far out from watching it and thinking about it, I mean, honestly, either ending could have worked.
Yeah,
but
it honestly doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I respect that they did the no interaction ending.
Yeah, because if you're gonna go with like the standard Hollywood ending, you'd think he'd go after her or do the "Hey, do you want a cup of coffee?"
Yeah.
But this is a bolder choice for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, I'm sure that just blew people's minds back when this movie came out.
Yeah. I didn't care enough about Kaylee or him to honestly care that they didn't end up together.
Honestly, yeah. Like, had they built these characters more, that would have been a really satisfying ending. Have you seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
Oh, yeah.
So
great movie.
Yeah, one of my favorites for sure. It's one of those films where, as much as I have seen it, every time I watch it, I probably cry at some point. And I always love the ending because, you know, they listen to the worst things about each other after having their memories erased and falling back in love after one night. And his response at the end is, she's just like, all these things that are bad about me are still going to be bad about me. And he's like, okay. And like, that's how the film ends. And it's just like such a good ending. And
yeah, it really is.
This isn't anywhere near that gravity or weight in any single way, but I'm glad they at least stuck with their bold choice here of them just not being together.
Yeah. Yeah. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is so good. I mean, because the writing is brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
This movie, the plot, you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's the butterfly effect idea is executed well enough, but the writing of the individual characters is pretty weak. Like the script has nothing to write home about. There's those little details we talked about, like Ethan Suplee's character and some of the things that they're just useless and they're needless. And it just makes it feel a little more bloated than it needs to be. It's not streamlined.
It's the devices, like you said, the plot devices are set up almost brilliantly. I can give it that much. Like when it cuts, I didn't even realize it was the drawing of the neo-Nazis that he stabbed until much later in the film when I thought about it.
I didn't realize, so you just told me.
Yeah, and it's like, those things are cool, but that's not a movie. That's just like a cool moment that you design.
Yeah.
You know, like in Back to the Future, when we get like these payoff moments, it's great. It really works.
Yeah.
Like when you see his photo fade out and then his photo fades back in, that sells you so much in the film. And this, it's just like those moments are cool. They're there. They're just, you don't care about the characters performing those moments. So
yeah, and none of the things that happen after he figures out how to like time travel and change everything at will, you don't really care what happens anymore because he's just going to change it if it doesn't work out.
And it's like, had he not burned everything, he could have just gone back again one more time and been like, Kaylee, you and your brother need to move out of town. Just trust me.
Yeah, like I'll find you again when I'm 22.
Yeah.
Or something like that, if he wanted that. So there's not enough permanence to anything that happened matter. Like when he gets checked into the insane asylum, like I knew he was going to get out of it.
There was that the one moment where he's running down the hallway like a crazy person in a cartoon would.
Oh God.
I'm trying to find it.
He looked like he was impersonating like a Neanderthal because his head's like sunk low and it's like a crazy scene. It's the only scene in the movie that's shot in that insane way too.
Yeah, the Dutch angle with like a blue light on it. It's so weird.
Yeah. It shows how crazy he is, I guess. The music was pretty bad in this movie. Like, it's like a Hinder level soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like, Nickelback fits in really well, which is not a good thing.
Yeah, and like Oasis is the only thing I remember from the music.
Yeah, and I don't even dislike Oasis, but
That's
yeah.
like I said, literally the only thing I remember from it. Everything else
Yeah.
is just kind of.
Yeah, we looked too, and there's sequels. There's 2 sequels with totally different casts that essentially don't change the plot at all.
They look cheaper and worse as they go on.
Yeah.
So the concept of the butterfly effect is based off of Ray Bradbury's story, A Sound of Thunder.
Yep.
Which, the concept, just to wrap everything up, the concept is in the story, they travel in time. They can do things while traveling in time, but they're like, I believe, because I read this story before, I believe they're on like these walkways or these passages that they can travel on that are sanctioned by the company. But if you mess something up, like you're not supposed to touch anything because it can mess up the whole timeline. And then I want to say someone steps on a butterfly.
Well, there's that quote where it's like, if you had the power to change everything, the flap of a butterfly's wings can cause ripples in time and stuff. That's why it's called the butterfly effect.
Yeah. And that's the thing in the story too. They're talking about that, where it's a butterfly also waving its wings could create a storm across the world when you think about it, like by the blowing of wind and all that.
Yeah.
So there's all these cool concepts here.
Yeah.
This movie is funny as hell.
Yeah, and there's pretty much no comedic moments that are trying to be comedic.
Yeah.
It's melodramatic at a lot of times, which is hilarious. Like, the dog burning scene is so out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's not like funny material, but it's funny like the way it's happening, I guess. I don't know. It's funny that it happens in the movie. It's funny that they would do that.
Yeah.
The movie theater scene was really funny. Like when they're leaving 7 and Kaylee and Evan kiss and Tommy gets really mad because whoever the random person that he beats the shit out of just like trips him, and it's really funny for no reason. And then Tommy just like almost kills him. Yeah. It's so weird.
There's so many just weird moments.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just not enough payoff in it. Like we don't care about it. There's a couple times where they toy with the idea of like with the knife, when he dropped the knife, when he goes back in time again, there's a weird thing with a knife and it makes it seem like there's all these little things that all are going to line up at the end, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
There's little details that do carry through, but it doesn't all like build up to one satisfying payoff.
It's either needs to be like a really mind-blowing, satisfying payoff, like you just described, or an emotional payoff, and it's neither. If you cared about Kaylee and Evan more, the romance, it might be a big payoff, but we don't.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you need to show them at the highs so that people can see the potential for their relationship more. And that's what they were trying to do with the sorority timeline, I guess you could call it, where they were like very much in love, and they tried to show that they were like childhood sweethearts too. But everything was so weird in the childhood; it's really hard to engage with it.
Yeah.
So I don't care about how the relationship turned out because I mean, Lord knows what would happen if it did.
I mean, you could have, in theory, had them in the first iteration, had them together still, with her being like very damaged from everything that happened, but them still a couple. That could have maybe sold it more, where they had a deep emotional bond and got back together anyway. Yeah,
and then his motivation is to try and help her because she's like very damaged by her father, maybe, and he like they're in a relationship and he's doing everything he can, but she's just kind of sheltered and stuff like that. You could have something more there, and it would have been better.
That would have made the payoff for the sorority frat life seem really high at first, and then really low once he kills her brother. I mean, just simple things. Yeah. You
could do something where there's a device where every time he goes back, like, maybe he doesn't come back to the present day as healthy or something, like it's rotting away at his brain. So then there does feel like there's an impending doom with it. As it is, it just feels like he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, exactly. Where, I mean, his dad's mentally damaged when he meets him. Maybe he gets like weaker each time. So,
or maybe like when he goes to see his dad the first time, he's like kind of sick looking and he's crazy. And then as he's traveling more, his dad's like really bad, like in a wheelchair and everything. I don't know. You gotta do something like that.
Yeah.
To add some threat.
Yeah, there needs to be threat and just more care.
Yeah.
Because we're just along for the ride laughing, but we could have easily been along for the ride for the characters.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, it's very well paced. Like we were engaged the whole time.
Yeah.
I was never bored.
Not once.
So that's a very good thing for a movie, especially this low, because most of the movies that we've been watching, like King Arthur and Chappie, and they're just boring for long stretches.
Yeah.
And like there's other bad things about them, but the fact that they're boring for so long is just like the nail in the coffin.
And this one, I mean, it never rests long enough to be boring.
No,
I think
and
the first
your mind
45
is
minutes
turning
has
trying
so
to
many
figure out
jump
what it.
scares that.
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
There were a lot of jump scares early in this movie, weren't there? Because I remember jumping a lot, which isn't saying
Well,
anything.
it's because
but
the blackouts, they wanted you to like understand that it's weird that
Yeah.
you jump back into it. So
that's true. Every blackout is what scared me.
yeah.
Overall, I'd say if you're really interested in the concept, honestly, you can watch it. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, if
Like,
you've
you're not
seen it before,
Thinking it's one of your favorites.
if you've seen it before and you want to watch it again because you're like, they have a lot of good points. Maybe this movie is garbage. Watch it because it is garbage, but you'll at least get a laugh out of it. If
Yeah.
you've never seen it, I mean, you won't be disappointed watching it. You'll just laugh a whole lot.
Yeah, I thought it aged well because I thought it came out in like 1999, but now knowing it came out in like 2004, it could have looked better. like it doesn't even look that good considering the technology that was around then. Like, isn't that the beginning of like Lord of the Rings, 2004?
2001 would be Lord of the Rings.
2000, okay, even more so then.
Yeah, I mean, this is no Win a Date with Tad Hamilton. That's for
No,
sure.
this is no Win a Date with Ted. That's our takeaway.
Yeah. Which, as a follow-up for everyone, that was rated 52%. So that one had a little bit more critical acclaim to it.
See you later, Tad.
Yeah.
Max, where can the good people find us?
You can find us at thecriticalbreakdown.com or on Facebook or on Twitter. Breakdowncast on Twitter.
Yeah. What about you? What about you personally?
You can find me on Twitter at Max Rivera Film.
And unless I do successfully go back and change everything, you can find me at Twitter at breakdown_Scott.
See, this is the world where I never make funny endings and just Scott does.
I need to change it then. Our email is thecriticalbreakdownpodcast@gmail.com. Send us an email. Let us know your butterfly effect thoughts.
Yeah.
Let us know other thoughts too. Let us know all of your thoughts.
Maybe you one time won a date with Tad Hamilton and you want to tell us about it.
Yeah, for sure. I want to hear about it.
Let us know.
Yeah. Music is done by Jason Brown.
Artwork is done by Josh Rivera.
And Wally's a podcast dog. How's he doing? How's Wally doing?
He's pretty good, man. He really liked Butterfly Effect.
He really did. He was super engaged, which kind of creeped me out.
The twists and turns to die for.
Yeah, he asked me how to do a review on Amazon for it, but I just told him to post it to his blog, which he agreed to do, but I don't think he has a blog.
Yeah, it's probably like on Zanga or something.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Maybe this new year will bring you something new, something better than Ethan Suplee.
Yes, hopefully.
Look at this photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh. How did our eyes get so red? And what the hell is on Joey's head?
Next week on The Critical Breakdown.
We're going to watch Twins, starring Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Rated 34% on Rotten Tomatoes. Twinning.
This is where I went to school. Most of the time it